thank you so much, Stephanie Seufert, for being here with us and letting me celebrate you. Now, I haven't told you why I wanted to interview you.
Here comes the big surprise.
That we met through my husband, which you were working at the same company with him, and he always talked very highly about you. And when I got to meet you, I could see why. You're just an absolutely funny, awesome, smart woman, and you pull no punches. And I really think that that makes you a badass. And I appreciate you for that.
Thank you. Wow, I can do this. I can do this all day if you want to. It's a great way to wake up on a Friday. It makes me feel great.
That's excellent because it's all true. And so I want to ask you a few questions. I mean, I know you from marketing and from business. Did you always know that you wanted to do marketing?
No, actually, my degree is actually in journalism, and
Journalism.
so I went to school. My thoughts at that time, way back when, is that I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write for magazines. I wanted to write for fashion magazines, um, and so that was the path that I started in school. And then soon after graduating, I had an opportunity to work in public relations, and sort of take that writing. And people skills to a new level. And so I never wrote for a magazine. I never really used that element of, going to school. But it just sort of transitioned from PR into more traditional marketing. And then I worked for ad agencies. And I had a lot of great experience there. And then, as time went on, it sort of transitioned again into more specifically digital marketing. And so it was just, um, a, a period of time for me when I just sort of grew into these different areas because of things that I like to do. And then with digital marketing, again, I started way back when, and I mean, I've been doing this for almost 25 years. And it's like, I just sort of changed with the times, and there was starting to be a bigger focus on things digital, and now that's where I've landed, and I love it. And it's still an ever evolving channel. There are definitely a lot of different ways to reach people, with your message, and so it's been really fun and really great, and I don't feel like I've been working for 25 years. Um, I still feel every day I'm learning something new, which is great. But I remember years ago, I had I went to Chico State, and I had been invited back to talk to like the PR 101 kids or something like that. And, here I am sitting in front of all these kids and talking to them about, the stages of my career and, what some of the things that were important to me and whatnot. And I sort of ended it with, you have to be very flexible and very fluid because you just want to keep learning. And I said, I want to put it into perspective for you guys. When I started working, there was no Google. Like I didn't have the ability to just Google something and figure it out. I had to do research and look into it a little deeper. It was just really very, I think, impactful for them to see like how far things or how much things had changed in, a
Such a
relatively
short period
short
of
amount of
time.
time. Yeah.
Like
Yeah. So,
in a matter of 10 years, it's a completely different world business.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
Right.
I want to say that's really interesting because that is one of the things that I think makes you really awesome and badass and successful is that you are flexible and you're really skilled at your job. Like you look for the tools, you learn the tools, and you learn how to implement them really well. There's a really good perspective that you hold, and I admire that.
Oh, thank
It
you.
makes you a really strong woman and ally and good at what you do.
Oh, thank
So
you. I think it's really, I mean, born out of curiosity.
yeah,
I know I don't know everything and I'm not an expert in everything. And so it's kind of like, and I think that's an element that I like to bring, or it just sort of comes both personally and professionally, is really just curiosity about people and the things that they know, and, learning from them and their experiences.
yeah,
And, I'm definitely a people person. I love to
you
talk to
are.
people. I
You
talk all the
are.
time. I don't stop talking. So, so I think I like to think it's because I'm curious. But, I love the interactions.
Yeah. Well, it's what makes you really good at what you do. Yeah, I could see that. So what's your goal business
Hmm,
wise? I mean, it's a pretty big loaded question, but what would you,
sure.
yeah.
Business wise, right now I'm working for a shoe brand, um, which is really one of the most fun jobs I've held,
Really?
because I love fashion and I love shoes. So it just was a very nice, just combination of the things that I like to do. So I work in digital marketing for a shoe brand. So
Great.
from a professional standpoint, I just uh, I I don't know. I mean, I really can't really pinpoint it. I mean, I love what I do. I find a lot of joy in, creating successful campaigns and working. I work with an amazing team, and there's a lot of people that are involved in putting forth, the content that we have, and the website and so forth. And so I like that collaboration. Yeah, so I don't know that I have an ultimate goal, um, professionally. I just, like to keep doing what I'm doing, and if that elevates me, um, from a professional standpoint, I mean,
Yeah.
that's fantastic, and but it all I mean, I guess I don't have, it's funny because I had this conversation with my husband several years ago. We were talking about this woman um, who I know, who's a CEO of a very successful company. I said, "Oh gosh, I don't ever remember thinking in my life or in, as I was growing up or whatever that, oh, I want to be a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, or I want to do this. It just, that's never been really my aspiration. And I thought, oh gosh, am I missing something? Like, should
Sure,
that be my aspiration?
sure. Yeah,
Like,
there's so many. Yeah.
and it's not necessarily where I want to be. I mean, I love, sort of the hands-on
Yeah.
element, of what I do. And so, um,
Yeah.
yeah, there are
And
people
you
way
don't
more
have
qualified
to.
for that. Yeah, so it's just
You
weird,
don't have to
it's
do that stuff. And knowing that is what makes you freaking awesome.
oh,
Just
yeah.
knowing yourself is really part of um be being badass. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what allows people to see your true strength and power is knowing yourself and putting that forth authentically.
Yeah,
And
and it gives me the opportunity to work on things that I really enjoy.
yeah.
Um,
So what inspires
so
you?
what inspires me? Lots of things inspire me.
Oh, yes.
I just a lot of different people inspire me. I mean, I think I've been super fortunate in my life to really just meet amazing people. I've had a lot of different jobs, and in every job, after I've left, I still have these relationships that I've forged during my time with, these different organizations. And it's really interesting to me because it's almost like that's the part of the experience that I take with me,
Yeah.
if further into life. And it's like, everyone that I meet, people come from all walks of life. And I love having that exposure to people who have experienced things that are much different than I've experienced. And then, still on the flip side, I still have a lot of people in my life who are very much like me. And so I just have this really well-rounded, um, universe. I think that I keep really good people in my life, and I make that a priority. Especially, in the last year, it's been really hard to stay connected to people.
Yeah, definitely.
And, as busy as life gets, and, as chaotic as things are, it's always been important to me to just stay connected. It
Do
just,
that
even
well.
at a very, I mean, social media helps with that. And, just, texting helps with that. It's kind of like just letting people know that you're still connected. And so, that's really just sort of what drives me in life, is just, keeping good people around me.
Do that.
And I've been lucky to be able to do that, for a long time.
Well,
So,
you say lucky, but I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you forge good relationships. I can see you definitely make an effort. And so it's not luck or, well, maybe luck, but you create it. And so that's makes perfect sense that people are your inspiration.
yeah.
I think it's awesome. Well, okay, so let's talk about the business side of things really quick,
Mhm.
because I consider you very successful and everybody has different elements of success, but um, I think you're traveling the path that you've created and allowed to flow authentically, and made some good decisions along the way. So you have a lot of experience, you've tried a lot of tools, and you have an enormous threshold of team. And so I'm curious, out of all your tools, what do you think makes you successful or helps you on your success path?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't necessarily think it's any one thing. I think from a business perspective, I think so. One thing I think that's really important, um, and has been important for me in my career is that um, I don't take a lot of things personally.
Ah,
So I work in a lot of different team environments, and there's always a lot of back and forth, and a lot of great ideas come from discussion and collaboration. And I'm not afraid um, to tell people my ideas or my thoughts, but I'm also not afraid to be shot down. And even there have definitely been times where I do think that my idea is the best and we don't go in that
yes.
direction, and I don't take that personally. I don't feel like, oh, they must not like me because they didn't take my idea. I mean, I definitely understand and realize that there are a lot of variables involved in decision making. And so I think that that's one sort of key element that has helped me sort of just advance. And it's because I'm willing to take a risk and I'm not afraid to be um, shot down. And that's happened a lot. So,
That's great.
I
Yeah,
think
I
that
mean,
that's
it's one thing that you don't necessarily think about it all the time, but I would say, yeah, that has a huge impact
right.
in general, even at home, right? Because you're not
Yeah.
just, yeah, you're not just a businesswoman, but you have
Right.
daughters, a
Right.
husband.
Yeah. My ideas are shot down more often than not at home than they are.
And you have great relationships because of it. I mean, it's
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
you've it served you well, definitely. Yeah, so okay, the toughest question of all is, I know you to be a badass in so many ways, and um I want to know how you think you show up as a badass.
I'm I think that I am very open. Um Good or bad. I mean, I definitely one thing that I've again recognized during this time of Zoom calls and things like that is I have a really hard time hiding my feelings. And so even if I want to pretend to put on a happy face and I think that something is gone awry or I don't agree with something, it's very easy to see it on my face. And I think that I am very straightforward, and again, right or wrong, like I definitely don't like to sugarcoat a lot of things. And so I'm in business, I definitely have very open conversations. It just when you're, have different ideas coming to the table. I mean, I definitely am very thoughtful about them
Yeah.
and my reaction. And I never, want to be hurtful or critical, but I also am not going to blow smoke
Yeah.
for someone. I definitely I don't think that that helps.
Yeah.
And I think that that holds true too for how I raise my girls.
Yes.
I I definitely, I was definitely not one of those parents who was like, "Oh, you did an amazing job." Actually, that's not that great. You could do better.
Yes.
So it's kind of like one of those things. And I think that my girls have grown up. They're both teenagers now, and I think that they've both grown up to have this level of independence and confidence that definitely comes from within. I mean, there's a lot of that with who they are just naturally, and I'd like to think that some of what Justin and I have done in their upbringing has helped them sort of appreciate that and sort of like grow with it. I just he and I always talk about what are the key things that we want for our kids, and that's to be kind and to be independent and to be confident and be confident in the decisions that they make. So sure, they're going to make mistakes, sure they're going to make bad decisions, but we want them to just feel take responsibility for the things that they decide to do. whether they're right or wrong, that it's not
Yeah.
blaming it on other things, outside variables. And so I think, that just sort of straightforwardness is something that I bring to all aspects of my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I
I
think maybe
definitely
that's,
appreciate it. I
yeah.
mean, if I need an opinion, I definitely, ask you. I know that it
I have opinions.
yes, and I know that it's gonna be authentic and honest and, I mean, if it doesn't work, you're gonna be like, "Well, it doesn't work that well."
Right. Right.
But, with kindness and humor, but still, I really do appreciate that a lot. And I think you said something really interesting because when you said how you wanted to raise your girls with kindness and confidence and to take responsibility, um, and then you went on to say, take responsibility for the things that work and the things that don't work. So I think
Right.
that's an important distinction, though, because accepting those things that you do really well also has enabled you to do the things you do really well in a bigger way. And so acknowledging those is part of that core for you that's
Yeah.
so badass.
Oh, thank you. That was definitely something. I mean, I needed to I needed to, for me, that was a lesson that I had learned very early in my career, but it was something where I remember, having times where I would make a mistake and I would try to come up with a reason why this mistake was made. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't see this, I did, whatever, whatever. And, I had this boss who she was actually she was the dean of the College of Communications when I was at Chico State, and she was also my advisor. And then ended up she had hired me for my first job. And I remember she was also very, very straightforward, and it terrified me. I was just so, I was 22 years old, and I was, trying to be so grown up and so professional, and she was just uh, let me have it. When I was wrong, I was wrong, and
Yeah.
I needed to take responsibility for that. And it was basically this conversation where she sat, where she's just like, "Don't try to bullshit me. Like, really, you need to like understand how we got to this point." And I'm just like, "Oh, you're right. Like, I'm spending all this time
So much
trying to
easier.
craft this story."
Right.
Yeah, and
So much
when I come to terms with it, I'm just like, "Oh yeah, you're right. Like,
easier.
I definitely could have done this better. There could have been a better result." And you learn from that. And it was just like this moment for me where I was just like, yeah, like,
That's a
no bullshit.
defining moment. I hope
Yeah.
that you, if you haven't already, you have the opportunity to tell her because that
Yeah.
is something that shows up for you out of all the things I say or could ask you. You're like, yeah, this chick did it for me. This is my
Definitely. Definitely. And we have stayed in touch, and it's been
I'll
really, I
bet
mean,
you
it's been really
have.
good. Yeah. And I still tell her about the day that she made fun of me, and that made an impact on me, and so there's definitely been moments, where I was very impressionable at that time in my life, and she made an impression.
So lucky to have those women who show up and be able to just
Absolutely.
connect with them in a way that's, beneficial for everybody.
It's so
Because it
true.
also allows them to keep going and keep giving also.
Yeah.
It's really awesome. So, um, thank you so much for being here, Stephanie. And thank you so much for letting me just celebrate you and tell you, the impact you've made for me. There's definitely some challenges you give me and creating a better presence and that were really uncomfortable, but you it's keeping me going. It's keeping me striving.
Oh, I
And so
love that.
I super appreciate that. And I'm just grateful that you let me tell you that in this very open and public way. And so,
Thank you so much. I mean, you really, I love what you do. And I think that's why I like working with you so much. And I think that you have a lot of that honesty and authenticity that I really appreciate just in people in general. And then to see you take your brand and grow it and do it the way that you want to do it, and that you feel that is right, I think is, for me, very inspirational. And of course, I just love your work. So I love, watching you create these beautiful pieces. And it's something, that is just so out of my realm. I mean, I could never envision, much less create what you
Oh, I'll bet
do,
you
and so
could.
it's just,
We'll
oh
have to
no.
have you and the girls in the shop. You and the girls in the shop to make something.
I would love that. I had these ideas like, oh yeah, like look at this. Oh, I could see how that could be made. And then I try to go and do it. I'm like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's not working. So I do appreciate the things that you bring to
Thank
our
you.
relationship. Definitely.
Thank
It's been
you.
good.
Thank you. So thank you for tuning into this BABL story. Remember to elevate those badass boss ladies in your life and share your own badass boss lady stories using the hashtag BABL, BABL. Badass Boss Lady.